So we're just coming up on 10 o'clock right now. Morning, everyone. We'll give it another couple of minutes. People transitioning from their last online virtual meeting, or maybe a few of you are on campus. Lucky you. But we'll just give it a couple more minutes. So sit tight and we'll get started shortly. Good morning, everyone. Charles from Handshake here. We're just going to give it another minute or so. People logging in. I can see the participants number clicking up even as I'm talking, and we know people coming from other meetings. So we'll get started in a minute or two. Thank you for your patience. So just while we're waiting for an extra minute or two, let's warm you up with the chat. Please feel free just to pop into the chat where you're dialing in from, institution, geography. You might even already have questions you want to put in there. Please do. But yeah, we'd love to see the chat start to warm up, do some stretching before we start. We'll just give it another minute. Thank you, everyone, for joining this morning. Really appreciate your time. Hope it's a little bit sunnier with you than it is here in the West Midlands. So we've got people from Cardiff, Dublin, Portsmouth, Birmingham, Durham, London, Northumbria. We're spreading it across the region here. I was about to say the UK, but yeah, we got Dublin, Preston. The sun is shining in his island. Well, lucky old Ireland, that's where the sun is. Plymouth. Oh dear, dull and wet. Sorry about that, Mark. Cornwall. We've got a good spread of geographies here. We should do this if anyone wants to check the weather before they go traveling. Okay, I'm going to give it 60 more seconds before we crack on. Thank you, everyone, for joining. If you've just logged in, please join us in the chat. Tell us where you're from. Give us a quick shout out. I really want to use the chat function today. We're going to be talking about engaging students through mobile. And what I just want to say beforehand, as well as thanking everyone for giving up some time on a Wednesday morning, is, we're not coming with all the answers today. Sorry about that. We really want to make this a community activity. So as we go along, comments, chats, things you want to share from your own experiences, things that have worked, things that haven't, ideas. This is a caring and sharing environment. So please do pop anything in the chat as we go along. There will be a sort of dedicated Q&A piece towards the end, where we'll look to pick out any top questions, not based on any particular ranking, from the chat. Or anything that's really useful to share out. We probably won't get to everything, but what we will do is package it up in the post-webinar information when we share that later. So thank you for your contributions in advance. So shall we get started, team? Great. So good morning, everyone. Charles Hardy from Handshake here. Welcome to our webinar, Exploring Engaging Students Through Mobile. And I'm really excited to talk through a really hot topic, I think, in a number of ways. And we'll probably touch on various aspects and variables of this topic today. I'm very happy to be joined by the University of Liverpool team. So just in terms of myself, I lead on education, university partnerships for Handshake here in the UK. I've been with Handshake a couple of months, and it's been really, really exciting to dig down into the state of play in the world of careers advice and graduate recruitment. I'm joined today by the team from Liverpool. Firstly, Jason, over to you. Would you like to do a quick intro?
Sure. Thanks, Charles, and good morning, everybody. My name's Jason, and I'm a project officer on the communications and engagement team, part of careers and employability at the University of Liverpool. As you might be able to tell from the background, I'm in the office, I'm not at home, dialing in. And also joining me from the university are Lottie, who is one of our career coaches. She's part of our frontline service, and also Madam. Madam's a digital coach who works on our Digital Accelerator programme, which is designed to empower our student body with the digital skills they need to utilise in the world of work, but even just to use it for extracurricular activities and for fun and their personal lives. Both of these are current students, along with being ambassadors of the university, and I'm really excited for them to share their perspectives with you today, both wearing their student and professional caps on. They've got some great stories to share, so I'm looking forward to them sharing that with you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jason. Quick hello from Lottie and Maram.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Great. That was actually a technical sound check. Thank you. Yeah, and if you have questions, as Jason says, Lottie and Maram not only are coaches within the careers and digital teams, but obviously they're also current students. So they've got a lot of great intelligence to share. As we're doing intros, just a quick intro on Handshake. I know there are people on a call who are our current partners. We've got around 20 universities in the UK that we are now partnered with, which is brilliant. So welcome to you. But if you're not currently working with, partnering with, or even that aware of Handshake, there's a little bit about us. We work with universities to help students into employment, helping students liaise with the careers service, helping them engage with employers, helping employers find and engage and hire students as well. I've put our website down there, but of course, if you want to find out more, please do get in touch after this call. So to our topic of the day, and it doesn't really need saying that everyone is on mobile, and particularly the up and coming generation, Gen Z. I just want to say Gen Z, but I've been told it's Gen Z. Of course, are using their phones a lot. And when we think about how they're using it in all these different ways, in all the different apps that they're using, the most common social chat and community platforms that they're using, it's really important to consider that behavior and to consider where our students, when we want to engage them, and making it as easy as possible to remove barriers on that engagement. So as we think about this and thinking about every generation really, but even in terms of using your phones out and about, I don't know how many people are like me. Where is your line when your battery power on your mobile device, on your phone, starts going below? Where do you start getting twitchy? So for me, if it goes below 40%, anything 30 in the 30s, 20s, I start getting twitchy. I'm out and about. I want you to put it in the chat. Where are you when you get twitchy with your battery on your phone? Okay, at what point? Are you cool getting it down below 10% when it's in that red? Because that is the no-go for me. I very rarely get that low. Pop that in there. It's interesting to know where you go for that. And then the Wi-Fi thing. I mean, we're so dependent on Wi-Fi now, and particularly working from home, but even out and about, and thinking about the Wi-Fi provision on campus in various places, or even how easy it is to get online when commuting, and more pervading our lives, quickly trying to find Wi-Fi that we can dive onto. But again, who else has been twitchy when you lose that 3 or 4G signal and there's no Wi-Fi, and suddenly we feel so disconnected, and I wonder how we ever did without it. So these things have become very much part of our sort of everyday needs. And certainly for Gen Z and this next generation, they've grown up with it. And it really is taken for granted. But there are, of course, people out there who don't necessarily have all the assets, tools, and access that we enjoy. So it's being also mindful of people who don't have the hardware, a computer, a laptop, tablet. But as you see on the right, a lot of people, most young people do have a mobile device, a smartphone. So how do we consider minimizing the barriers to people accessing tools, accessing resources that they need to be successful? Now I'm going to hand over to Jason and Lottie and Maram in a moment, but I just want to put this up first here just to fuel some thinking around use of mobile. So two aspects that I'll split this into. Firstly, reaching students in the blue on the left. So how are you using mobile to push out messaging to engage students, maybe calls to action? How are you getting them to be aware of services, activities, events that you want them to engage with? So are you using social media? How are you considering content, tone, language? What's working, what isn't working? So that's one activity in terms of how you use mobile. And then on the right-hand side, supporting students. How are you allowing them, enabling them to use their mobile devices to engage with the services and information and training and resources, etc., that you have? So these are themes, these are triggers for you that I want you to consider as you listen to Liverpool, but also to think about your own areas, and it might trigger comments or questions that you want to chuck into the chat as we go along. And I would come back to this at the end, again, as a source of discussion. So now I'd like to hand over to Jason to share some of the Liverpool experiences.
Thanks, Charles. Hi, everybody again. So my name is Jason again, and I've been in my role for around 3 years now, but been part of the wider Careers and Employability team for around 10 years or so. So I've seen a lot change in that time. When I first started, we utilised a lot of paper and enrich files for our career resource library, and that's definitely not so much the case now. I've worked on the project to bring Handshake into the University of Liverpool since the idea was first floated in late 2018. And we were delighted to become the first UK university to launch with Handshake in the May of last year. Part of my role essentially is to work closely to ensure that our digital employability tools that we have access to and that our students have access to are the best that they can possibly be. Next slide, please, Charles. Thanks, Charles. So I think in the context of today's session, it's important that I just give you some background about how we reimagined employability at the University of Liverpool back in 2017-18, and how that fits into where we are today and our discussions that are obviously taking place in this webinar. Suffice to say, we've been on quite a journey in that time. So back in the, I think it was 2018, we changed the way we delivered employability at the University of Liverpool with the introduction of the Career Studio. And at the time, this was the UK's first peer-to-peer employability space. So we were inspired by case studies from the US as to scalability and peer-to-peer models. And a period of transformational change that took place at the time allowed us to flip our employability model and allowed us the opportunity to do that. So in the studio, our career coaches and employability experts work together to ensure that every student is exposed to the right experiences to develop the skills and expertise they need during university and on into their early career. Thanks, Charles. So the studio is a physical space, although we do operate virtually as well, following on from last year's events. And this space is essentially led by students, for students, empowered by employability experts. We also have 3 teams who are at the heart of delivery within our faculties, and they push out our messages and principles into our students' lectures. Suffice to say, our students are at the heart of everything we do, and the space is designed with the 6 key principles in mind that are on screen here for you. We're committed to the university's vision of supporting students to become creative graduates with the capacity to find employment that will enable them to become agents for change in this connected world. Thanks, Giles. So focusing primarily on the peer-to-peer and tech-enhanced concepts as they lead us here today to today's session. Experience is everything. We use the latest technology to help our students prepare for the future world of work. Now, this world of work is constantly changing, and as a result, we try to get our students hands-on with the latest tech to develop digital skills. So in the Career Studio, students can research industries in augmented reality. They can practice video interviews with elements of artificial intelligence built in, and they can also take part in virtual work-based experiences. Thanks, Giles. So with these digital tools, student experience is one of our key drivers. So we want our students to have access to tools that they can utilise at a time and location that works for them. Now, this could be in a quiet room on a university network PC on campus, but it also comes through to commuting on a train, for example, through a mobile phone. So as a result, mobile-enabled solutions are of a particular interest to us. Essentially, we want the student experience to be just as rich, whether it be on a PC or a mobile device through mobile web or a particular app, and this is where Handshake is key for us. So one of the things we've become aware of is that the technologies available on university campus to engage students isn't necessarily what students demand. Students are expecting mobile experiences as a default option, and the statistics on screen really illustrate the reasons why this may be the case. So at the top, we have the JISC Student Digital Experiences Survey from last year, which highlights some barriers to digital accessibility that we might take for granted, such as an internet connection of sufficient quality. Now, the OFS survey from last year on digital poverty provided some really stark findings, with 71% of those reporting lack of access to a quiet space and 22% being severely impacted. Along with that, almost a fifth were impacted by lack of access to a PC, laptop or tablet, and 4% were severely impacted. So I think last year's pandemic really drove home the barriers that some students may have in accessing not just an accessible space to work, study and research, but also the devices that are capable of fulfilling the requirements. Thanks, Charles. So some really interesting research that came from Deloitte recently shows how students are engaging with their phones today. Now, their research showed that 46% of the 18 to 24-year-olds surveyed are checking their phone either constantly or very often. And this doesn't necessarily need to be prompted via a notification on their phones. So I think it really shows that today's generation expects to use their mobile phone more to manage even more aspects of their life than ever before. Also, more than 70% of the 18 to 24-year-olds surveyed look at their phone within half an hour of waking up, and 41% look at their phones less than 5 minutes before attempting to sleep. And it's interesting when you think about it, really, because our undergraduates now have pretty much always been immersed in a mobile connected world. Thinking about it very flippantly, when the first iPhone was launched in 2007, they will have been toddlers playing with a Fisher-Price plastic phone, for example. So they've always been around mobile phones and within a mobile connected world. Now, unfortunately, I'm very much not within the target area of this research anymore. You might be able to tell, but I'm very much guilty of this myself. So a rhetorical question to yourselves in the audience, basically, how many of us check our emails on our mobile phone? How many of us have Microsoft Teams installed and respond to messages on this? And how many of us take action when we receive notifications on our mobile phone from our apps? So I think this aligns with the area of digital inequality mentioned in the previous slide, really illustrates why mobile is important to our students and to us at the University of Liverpool. Thanks, Charles. So now to bring this more into the context of Handshake and the potential of what Handshake provides for us. And I'll hand over to Lottie and Marum in due course, and they'll be perfect here to outline their journey with the Handshake app as both students and ambassadors of the University of Liverpool. So I'll just provide more of an overview at this stage. So our students are mobile, they're on the go constantly and extremely busy, immersing themselves within all aspects of university life. And that means that here at Careers and Employability, we want to make their employability journey even more accessible. We want our students to be empowered and take control of their own experience and be able to take this in wherever they go and whenever they want to do that. So through Handshake, we've got an ability to push recommendations and collections to students. And those students who've downloaded the Handshake app can have these sent through instantly to their phone as push notifications so that they can take action. So this really allows us to grab their attention wherever they are. The other benefit as well of a mobile-enabled solution is they can grab a student in a moment of inspiration on the go. So if you take the example of a student walking to a lecture on campus, and they instantly decide that they want to try and attend a careers event this week. So rather than getting the phone out, opening up Chrome, trying to remember the website address, trying to log in, forgetting the password, having to get an email sent to the email address, reset the password, they could instead utilize an app that's fast, responsive, built in the best practices from the native tool into a mobile environment. Now with Handshake, they do have access to an app. They can click on the app and it's set up with authentication through single sign-on. So if they're on campus, it'll instantly know who they are and it'll attach them to their pre-populated account that we've set up for them. So in theory, they can click on the app and within 2 clicks and maybe a minute or so, they can filter through events and be registered on an event within 60 seconds to a minute at most. To flip that slightly as well though, students can use mobile to favorite content to progress further on a device like a desktop or a laptop. So for example, with the Handshake app, they may use the phone to be on the app looking for jobs, and they might favorite a job of interest. Now, whilst a lot of jobs on Handshake can be applied for in just a couple of clicks, for more specialized applications, they may need to utilize a desktop for that or a laptop. But it's important to note that the first action of using the app and using the phones to favorite a job means that when they then go into Handshake on a laptop, the jobs immediately surface for them again to find quickly. And it just means that their application process then, that it just becomes a lot more seamless and user-friendly for them as well. In addition to that as well, tools such as virtual fairs and virtual appointments as well allow our students greater autonomy as to how and where they access such content. And if we can house them within a seamless, if we can offer them a seamless link to that video content as well, which is possible in Handshake, as the content's all housed within, then it just avoids redirection to other tools that they might need to utilize, such as Zoom and Microsoft Teams to visit a virtual fair or to conduct a virtual appointment with a careers advisor. So this avoids the time-consuming, possibly painful issues of students needing to download that application, register for an account. And again, they're all time-consuming tasks, and they may even possibly be an issue with a student who's using a mobile phone with limited space. Thanks, Charles. So some key headline stats I wanted to surface really just to highlight the power of providing a mobile-enabled digital tool to our students. So over 5,000 of our students have engaged with Handshake through the mobile app, and that's around a quarter of our student body. Lottie will go into detail a little bit more detail in a few minutes or so about our virtual career studio last year. But just to give you an overview, in the last academic year, we ran our career studio virtually through Zoom and also through Handshake messaging. And the statistics showed that at the end of the academic year, the statistics showed that our students were 2.5 times more likely to send a message on Handshake than to visit our Zoom studio during the opening hours. So it's quite stark stats that we pulled out at the end of the academic year, and Lottie will go into a bit more detail about that shortly. It's also interesting to note that our employer and peer messaging stats are above the industry benchmark. So this currently stands at 52% and 10% for open and click rates. And our rate of engagement on the Handshake app is increasing on a weekly basis as well. Thanks, Giles. So what have we done to make our students aware of Handshake on mobile? Well, we do a lot. We regularly push the features of Handshake through all of our relevant communication channels. So that's things such as targeted emails, through to a presence on our social media channels on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and even through to articles on our student intranet. But again, it's important to note that, as I mentioned before, through our free faculty teams, we're able to push out key messages and principles to our students through our module deliveries. However, we're currently in the middle of a specific 3-week campaign called Ace Your Handshake, which we've pushed out greatly to our student body. And you can see some of the examples on screen of that. So this campaign basically consists of high quality branding and communications through the channels that I mentioned before. But we've also developed a series of events that are both virtual and delivered in small workshops by our career coaches. And these are based on Handshake awareness as to the full functionality of the platform and other tools, such as the Handshake app, and being able to download that and the importance of that. But we also bring in more specific areas of Handshake into those sessions, such as the importance of the Handshake profile and how students as a result can really ace the Handshake. Additionally, we've incentivized the campaign, and students are being encouraged to use functionality within Handshake to complete 5 steps that we've created to allow them to be eligible for a prize. And the students who complete that prize are currently being entered into a draw to win £500 worth of tech prizes. Now, the steps we've created are straightforward, they're quick to complete, but they've got purpose, and they're based on goals around maximising potential within Handshake. For example, the goals include completing the Handshake profile and downloading the Handshake app and taking other steps that we deem essential to completing this. Now, it's in the middle of this campaign at the moment, but we can see an increase in engagement of this. And we are delighted with how it's progressing so far in terms of the rate of Handshake activation amongst our student body, but also the rate of profile completions and the rate of Handshake app downloads as well that take place as whilst we're incentivising this, we're also displaying the benefit of taking such actions for our students. Thanks, Charles.
Just a quick question there, Jason. I mean, in terms of the campaign, thinking about using mobile, how are you actually doing the outreach, and what are the main channels you use to engage students, sort of make them aware and showcase all this creativity?
Sure. Well, as linking onto the next screen, we have video content, so we've created a series of videos which are kind of features, which include like an overview of Handshake and also an overview of the features of Handshake. But we have a weekly careers newsletter, so we've dedicated 2 weeks of that careers newsletter primarily to Handshake and also the aspects of the app. And as I say, through the incentive as well, we're using the app as part of the steps that students have got to complete to be eligible. But as well as that, we're using targeted emails. So we're using a segmented approach based on our faculties and departments. But also we're pushing content out on our social media channels, so on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And our career coaches are getting involved in that as well, because obviously they're students, they're eligible for the prize. So they're delivering Instagram takeovers, for example, outlining what they did as students to enter the incentive, but also doing it in a professional sense, delivering it as career coaches as well.
That's brilliant. And would you say, just doubling down on the social side there, that Instagram's the main social channel at the moment you would use, or and how are you looking at some of these others? Is Facebook dropping off as everyone seems to talk about it for this audience?
Yeah, I mean, for us, I think our key two tools are social media channels, should say, are Twitter and Instagram. Facebook less so now than it was a couple of years ago. We have explored the possibility of TikTok. My team have regular discussions about the pros and cons of TikTok. But one thing that we will definitely do, and we have done recently, is we'll involve our career coaches and digital coaches in those discussions, because the great benefit of that is we have a team of 40 students basically who work for us essentially, but they're not scared to give us opinions and constructive ideas. So obviously we'll do, if we go into the TikTok, if we go down the TikTok road, suffice to say it will be informed by a good body of students in terms of their opinions and what they feel would be the benefit of us doing that and how we should kind of portray ourselves on TikTok, shall we say.
Brilliant, thank you. And just one more thing on this, I see the QR codes involved in the creative there that you can see. Obviously that means you can tie anything from emails to even posters, can't you, back into the mobile and into the app?
Yeah, absolutely. So we obviously link through to certain parts of the app and for mobile devices as well. But yeah, we use a lot of QR codes, and I think that's kind of linked to the fact that we have in our studio, say, we use augmented reality as part of in exploring industries. So I think we're quite we're good with QR codes anyway.
Excellent. I'll resist going deeply into augmented reality. I'll save that for another time, unless people want to ask in the chat.
It's another webinar entirely, yeah, definitely. So at this point, Charles will play a video for us in due course, but this is basically a video that is an introductory video to Handshake that we've set up, which briefly shows the key messages and features of Handshake that we want to get across. And this is also including the benefits of the Handshake app and the fact that what you do on Handshake can be done in the palm of the hand. This video is promoted again through our weekly careers newsletter and all of our social media channels, but it's also broadcast on screen throughout our campus. So we have a lot of digital screens on campus. So it's broadcast to basically get the message across to students in different formats, wherever they are, and whatever situation they're in. But hopefully Charles will be able to play it now for you to break up my voice. It's only 90 seconds long anyway.
Here we go, fingers crossed.
So that's pretty much it from me. So thank you for your time today. I hope you found what I discussed interesting. Obviously, we'll have some time for questions, and I've just been looking at the chat anyway. You can see a little bit of engagement there anyway, so I'll have a look through that in due course as well anyway. But I'm really pleased now to hand you over to Maro. Technical gremlins there, Charles. Really pleased to hand you over to Maro, who's one of our digital coaches, who'll give you a great insight into our Digital Accelerator programme. But firstly, I'll pass over to Lottie, who's one of our career coaches. She'll talk about her role and her experiences as a student using mobile-enabled tools and in particular Handshake.
Hi everyone, my name's Lottie. I study business management at the University of Liverpool, and I've been a career coach since September 2021. So a few things that are great about us using Handshake. So when I have an interaction within the career studio, whether a student wants resources about how to structure their CV, whether they want to find a part-time job or graduate scheme, the first resource that I always go to is Handshake, just because we can upload our own resources on there, which I'll speak to in a minute. But brilliant things about setting up a Handshake profile is that once you download the app, you're live within 2 minutes. And then the content is also tailored to you. So either when you set up, it asks you what your preferences are, or you can change it throughout. So if I go onto the app looking for a part-time job and then think, oh, well, now my intentions have changed, now I want a graduate scheme, I can change that within the app settings, which are great. And as you can see on the right as well, it filters it. So it's filtered by your interests. So for example, what kind of role you want, what area, what location, whether you want it part-time, casual, and then it also say as well jobs that are expiring soon, which are great because obviously a big rush for students is submitting jobs on time. So it's great that the features they have as well, just so students can make sure they apply on time. So again, I can search for events within 2 clicks. So within the University of Liverpool, we upload our own resources on there. So the studio upload our own resources, for example, about CVs, cover letters, working abroad, and then also our own events as well are advertised on there. So within 2 clicks, I can sign up to an event, whether the event is virtual or in person. I can also message the host of the event, which is a great resource as well. So I'm not having to find their email or find their LinkedIn. It's just easy to use, it's accessible. Also, my CV is attached to my Handshake profile, and I'll speak about that in a moment. And also I can research companies through the profile and network with other students, so I can see what other students are registered to the events that I'm registered in or I'm interested in. And I can also see about the company with a little bit of a summary, which is great as well. Thank you. So my career search is no longer a one-way process. So a statistic that I have is that if you set your Handshake profile up to 100%, you're 5 times more likely to be contacted by an employer. So employers can message as a whole with a general message, or I've received a few personalised ones. For example, hi Lottie, I've looked at your profile and I think that you're suitable to apply for this graduate scheme. Would you be interested? So that's great as well. I can also message employers on there. So we have a plethora of employers on there that I can ask about what they do, what their scheme involves. So it's just a great software to have. And I feel like because it's afflicted with the university, it seems like a safe software to use. Yeah, instead of like external software, which might be quite overwhelming for students, especially if they're starting their professional career. Thank you. So in 2021, students in the studio were 2 times more likely to send a message on Handshake. So within our studio, we have a virtual studio at the minute, we have an in-person, and we also have Handshake messaging. So students can upload documents, they can upload CVs, cover letters, and additional documents, and we can read their documents for them and send them feedback. The app's a great tool as well. So obviously some students, like for example, engineering students, are constantly busy. So it's a great resource to have the app if they want to send a quick message, a quick question about whether they think a job would be suitable to them, they want their CV check. It's great to have. It's a great tool to have if they have a busy lifestyle. Perfect. Next slide, please. Thank you. Yeah, so these are some quotes that we have, and I know Mariam's got a great experience as well. But yeah, the app's a great tool to have, and I think from my experience, a lot of students do come in with their phone first, and then they'll say, I've seen this job advert, and then we'll move on to the Handshake platform on the site so we can support them applying for the job. I also have experience as well. So one of my housemates applied for a job on Handshake within 2 clicks. He was successful, received the internship. He's completed the internship now and has now been offered a graduate scheme. So it's great to use. He completed his internship with a small pharmaceutical company in Norwich, even though we're in Liverpool, obviously it's working virtually. So it's a great resource to use to find some local SMEs or just general SMEs within the UK. So yeah, it's a great resource to use for all students. I definitely recommend it. And I know Mary wants to share a story as well.
Thank you.
Hi, Mariam.
Hiya. Thank you so much, Lottie, for your insightful and for your great stories and your housemate story, because it's going to stick with me. So, hi, everyone. My name is Mariam Yahya. I study international business. Next slide, please. I joined the digital coach program last summer after being transferred from the 4 years degree to the 3 years degree because during COVID the competition was really high. So I just decided to be transferred to the 3 years degree, and then I felt that I had already missed out my opportunity to have an internship. And therefore I decided to do more extracurricular activities within the university. So I spoke to my academic advisor about it. He recommended me to use Handshake to track extracurriculum activities and events within the University of Liverpool. So I downloaded the app and I undertook a number of great programs, short programs with Handshake. And without it, I wouldn't know about them. And so until I joined one of the short programs that was with the BBC director, who told me that there is a lot of opportunities within the Liverpool City region and also with the University of Liverpool on campus. So I only have to apply and build my profile through Handshake. So that's what I did. I built my profile, which allowed me to stand out during my recruitment process, and then I got accepted to the Digital Accelerator program, which included 2 phases in the actual program. The first phase with Agents Academy, who trained us to become a digital coach, and the second phase now, which is with the University of Liverpool, delivering different digital skills. So as a digital coach, I completed a research project that identifies the digital skills gap in Liverpool City region. So data was collected from more than 62 employers through developing online surveys and interviewing a couple of local businesses. So we conducted a secondary research to obtain findings of digital skills gaps using pastel, SWOT analysis, best practices in competition, and also so basically to aid our analysis of the raw data to identify key trends to inform our learning sessions back at the university. So this enables me to visualize my findings and present them to our clients with the collaboration with other digital coaches through storytelling skills, so such as using personas and buyer journey. So we targeted student to university, and we developed different personas for them. So to convey the analytical solutions in a clear and concise and at the point manner. So after that, we came up with 19 most critical digital skills that students needed to be aware of, and the current businesses are lacking within the Liverpool City region, such as Canva, coding, WordPress, Google Ads, building proficiency in particular social media such as Instagram, Facebook, and as you can see, I do the Google Analytics sessions. So after my session, students will be able to highlight basic knowledge in how to use Google Analytics and how to advance their skills to another level. And in order to get involved within those sessions, you have to log into your Handshake app basically and register for our sessions. You will see the availability. We have different time slots for it. So if you want to come to in campus, you have like on campus, like in person sessions. You have also pre-recorded, and the third thing is you have also a virtual sessions that you can attend in your own time, that we targeted specifically for our mature students who have responsibilities and they cannot attend and they can be available basically attend on campus. Okay, so my journey did not stop here. The app has different tools and features that allowed me to create my career journey from early on. So for example, I attended a number of virtual fairs that had an integrated virtual career fair platform where I had one-to-one with employers or group videos conversation with students and alumni. So this gave me a great chance to get myself known and create a more meaningful connection with my network basically. So employer network. So Handshake has an integrated CRM, which is customer relationship management system that manages your interaction on Handshake and tailors your connection based on your interest. So that's exactly what I did. Next slide, please. So next slide, please. Yeah, so that's exactly what I did. So the Handshake networks allows me to discover new opportunities for my desired career. So this all is built through your profile basically under your interest function. So this allowed Tuwik, which is a fintech company, to contact me and offered me to work with them as a brand ambassador within the University of Liverpool. And without building my profile on Handshake, I wouldn't get that opportunity. So why I advise you all to start building your profile and check regularly all the opportunities, all the extracurricular activities that you can do, because as a university students, you have like a lot of other commitments, and you will not be able to see your academic advisor every single like week to tell them about, oh, I attended this fair, I did this basically. So this can be a proof for you in the future, and it's going to be in your hair record it's going to be in your hair record that you actually did an extra work while you were studying at the university, and it's going to look basically perfect in your reference at the end. Even if you don't know the academic advisor, it's going to be in your hair record, which is the higher education report when you graduate. So you'll definitely stand out. And just one more thing that I forgot to say before, that after if the students will attend sessions, digital sessions with the University of Liverpool, they will stand out from other students, and they're gonna attain a certificate of completion, and as well it's gonna be in their hair record at the end. Thank you everyone for listening, and thank you for your time, and now I'll hand it out to Charles.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mariam, and thank you, Lottie. Just a quick shout out here. 60% of students check their emails by their phones, but it's probably more. I know I do. I know most people do. So it's even considering how you do your communication by email that is accessible. We've seen, from Jason, the video that was created as part of the campaign at Liverpool, and of course, video is an intrinsic part of our day-to-day digital lives, but particularly for Gen Z. So how are they engaging with video content, bite-sized videos? How are you bringing that to life? And that's accessed through mobile. So all these things in your outreach are still, how can you make them as optimized as possible is an absolutely critical piece of the jigsaw. So coming back to some of those prompts I put out earlier, and thinking again about the reaching students and use of social media. Actually, just a quick question for you, Lottie, Mariam, in terms of social media. Which channels do you use? Which social channels do you use? And how would you perceive employers or the careers team coming in and messaging you in some of those maybe more personal channels? Lottie, any comments on that?
So I use Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, the kind of general platforms. I think it's a good idea for employers to advertise on the platforms if it's obviously in a professional manner. I think especially for companies that are quite creative, for example, like Gymshark, if I saw something about Gymshark careers on there that perceived them as a fun employer, I think that'd be great as well. I don't know if Mariam has anything to add.
Yeah, for me personally, I use LinkedIn because when we interviewed our employers, we interviewed more than 30 employers were from LinkedIn. Basically, we messaged them through LinkedIn, we took the appointments, and then we send them the surveys. So for me, the main platform for looking to connect with more employers in a more professional setting is LinkedIn.
Thank you both. And just thinking about, and please do pop questions in. We're just getting into the Q&A now, or any comments or anything you have for Liverpool, of course. Just thinking about how you go about managing that through social channels, the importance of content and tone and language. And we've heard a lot about the events and appointments being organized and run through mobile, through the app, thinking about how you do that, or if you have any questions around that. There's a quick question I can see straight away in the chat there from Gary. Thank you. How do you manage all the messages coming into the career studio? Maybe Jason, you want to just have a consideration on that for us?
Yeah, sure. I mean, Lottie might be well placed for this as well because she does this. But basically, the career coaches are on shift, as it were. They come in at rota times to work, whether it's on the physical studio on campus, but they'll also be within the studio, delivering the Zoom studio at the same time. But also as part of the rota, they will actually deal with the Handshake messages that come through from students. So they'll obviously reply to those, and then we'll record those. But so if you want to add anything to that, Lottie, because you're one of the people who does that.
Yes, thanks, Jason. We do get quite a few messages a day, and a great thing as well is that students can interact with the studio at like 2 a.m, 3 a.m. So obviously students that are abroad or have a different sleeping pattern, they can send in a message. Yeah, we normally respond within like 2-3 hours. Sometimes it's a little bit overwhelming, but sometimes we don't get many messages. It's never really a constant cycle. It's either loads or not that many, but it's never been an issue where we felt overwhelmed as career coaches. And as well, the questions are always really different. For example, like one might be a CV check, to one might be I'm looking for experience abroad. So the questions are really great as well, how they're all really different.
Thank you both. Another question here from Mark. I see you have CV 360, which is great. Does this, or how does this app interlink with other products? I think that's, you know, an interesting question around integration of all the great things that are out there. So I don't know if you have any insight on that, Jason, in terms of the CV 360 and how you use it.
Well, we use CV 360 as part of, it's used within our module delivery, but also it's used within the studio as well. So what we ask students to do is obviously to utilize CV 360 to a certain point, but then obviously come into the studio and obviously then get the more kind of human feedback from our coaches from that point onwards. In terms of interlinking with Handshake in the app, we promote our digital tools through the resources section of Handshake. So obviously then there's a landing page where students can go to get more information about the digital tools, and then obviously they're taken to the external platforms from that point onwards.
Thank you. Please do pop more questions into the chat. One thing I'd highlight as well, maybe to prompt some feedback, on the right hand side, I've put in community in terms of supporting students. So, you know, the last 18 months has tended towards a bit of isolation. How can we use mobile to enable activities that we've discussed today, but also to enable community and bringing students together? How can we think about that? Are you doing things that you're focused on that, and maybe a little bit more on that sort of mental health and togetherness? So if you have any ideas around that, if you're doing anything on campus, do share. Question here from Nicole: how would you compare Instagram Reels versus TikTok as ways to engage with students? Well, that is a great question. I don't know, Jason, you said you haven't necessarily used much TikTok yet. Any comment on Instagram and TikTok?
I'd almost have to bow down to Lottie and Maren on TikTok, to be fair.
I think I think TikTok would be a better platform to use, because with Instagram Reels, sometimes they're quite long, and if they're not engaging to start with, or for example, you have to go and find that content. With TikTok, a downside is it's all based on algorithms. So I think you can sponsor posts on there, which then you will hit the algorithm of students, but it all depends on what students are interested in. For example, if I watch a video about bees, I'll have loads of bee videos on my TikTok. So it all depends on interest. So I think there's obviously pros and cons for either. So TikTok would be more engaging because it's short, snappy videos, gets the message across. Then I feel more inclined as a consumer to look at the page and see what the resources there are on there. But it also depends how engaging you are with your Instagram Reels. I think using students as well is great. As it is perceived as more fun when you use students. If you're quite comical, if you're quite vibrant, as in like what resources you're using. So there's pros and cons of either, really.
Thank you. I think my top tip here is, you know, tap into your own university Marcoms team. They're often using these tools and for student attraction, student recruitment. So it's definitely worth teaming up. And certainly an area of skills development for a careers team, to have people who can start to really manage these channels. I think, yeah, the digital marketing, social media channels is a big development area. Oh, sorry, go on, please.
I just want to make one more comment. When you spoke about the mental health issue, so basically as a digital coach, we have sessions how to be mentally how to take care after your mental health in the digital world and how to behave online. So we do offer this to the university students.
That's brilliant. Thank you for highlighting that. Obviously, obviously critical. And can they access that through their mobile device, I guess, is the key question for today.
Yeah, they book it. So if you want to book like a session, how to behave online and how to take care of your mental health online, then you have to book it through the app, through Handshake. Basically, they have to go and register and then come to this session.
Excellent. Thank you, Moram. That's brilliant.
I've
got
a sorry, Charles.
Yeah, go.
I've seen here from Mark. Mark's very good on the questions here. It's just something that I saw and I thought it'd be quite interesting to point out. He's asking whether students agree to be messaged on their profiles. So the students who are on Handshake or our Handshake they obviously have access to a Handshake profile, but there's 3 different privacy levels, Mark. So a student can obviously automatically be set to be private, so they're not visible by anybody but pretty much themselves and anybody who's like career staff in the back end. But they can also set it so it's the reverse of that, so they're public. And what that means then is they're open to being contacted by other students and alumni or employers. Or they can set it in the middle, basically, which means that they can be visible to career staff, obviously, but then otherwise they're hidden unless they reach out to an employer first. So it's important to know that obviously students have got control as to what levels they can set their profile to be private or accessible, and obviously they can change that and adapt that throughout their time with the university and using Handshake as well.
Thank you, Jason. Yeah, it's important that students feel comfortable with the data they're sharing and what's out there.
That's one of the key things. Yeah, I was going to say, sorry, that's one of the key things we get across in our messaging as well, is the fact that, Lottie, for example, was one of our career coaches who delivers our career coach workshops last week based on the Handshake profile. And one of the key things we got across was the differing privacy levels to make sure the students who attended were aware of the fact that they can adapt this and change this whenever they want. So if they want to be public at a certain point of the year, they can be. If they want to go private, again, it's absolutely up to them. It's in their control.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Sorry, just to
sorry, go.
Sorry, I think something to note as well is the studio filter through, so they can accept employers and students on. So from my experience, I know the employers on Handshake are the best of the best. I know that I'm going to be treated fairly if I get a scheme with them. I'll be paid well, them kind of thing. So I think that's something else to note out, which is a great thing, that the studio do filter and do accept or decline each employer. So I know that everything on there has been researched thoroughly through the studio.
And that's a big part of what Handshake's doing as well. We're looking to ramp up to make sure any employer is vetted and trustworthy on the platform. It's really, really important for us, for universities, when they're asking their students to use a platform that's 100% safe and they can recommend it to their students in confidence. I just want to nip to a question here from Jill, just around access to virtual fairs and appointments with employers through the app. Do you have an integrated platform, or do you mean a connection through it to external fairs? All integrated, but I don't know, Jason, if you've got any comment around how you've done virtual fairs this term.
Yeah, you pretty much answered for me, Charles. It's pretty much integrated within the platform, but employers do have the option if they want to run sessions or one-to-ones externally within the virtual fairs as well. But the majority of the employers do run it through Handshake because the video platform it's solid, it's reliable, it's very user-friendly. And from the student's perspective as well, and obviously Lottie and Madam can attest to this, it's very user-friendly from the student perspective as being an audience member and the participant as well. So primarily, and especially with the app, the appointments as well, it's run through the app and the video platform runs through that, but there is the option with the affairs to run it externally at certain points for certain employers as well.
Brilliant, thank you. Just conscious of time. Thanks for all the questions coming in. Cecily, a technical question, crikey. Okay, does Handshake have an inbuilt email platform? Does it have options to track email open rates, click rates? What's the usability like? So yes, and yes. Jason, any comment on using that and your ability, I guess, to sort of track how engagement is going?
Yeah, as you say, Charles, it's got an inbuilt email platform. We basically all of our targeted emails regards to anything careers and employability is run through that email platform in Handshake. We're able to filter down by a variety of different factors. So if you want to filter by course, school, even other things as well. We can really drill down to the students we want to target within those emails. But we also run our weekly careers newsletter through the email as well. So it allows us to bring it to surface content from Handshake really, really easily in a very user-friendly way. So if you want to promote events or jobs within Handshake within the newsletter, it pushes through really, really easily. And we can obviously link to video content, and it's a very clean and user-friendly kind of finish to the end result of the email that goes out to students as well.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Jason. I'm conscious we're at the hour. I'm just putting this up on the screen. QR code to download the app there. If you wanted to use that, 5-star reviews of the Handshake app. Just some quick takeaways. I think, don't be scared to experiment, particularly if you're looking at using different social media channels. As I mentioned, maybe tap into your Marcoms team at the university to see how they're doing things and how they can help you, and certainly help with skills to develop people within your teams to use these channels, but also leverage your students. The great way that Liverpool do this, using their student teams, and they can give you guidance on what would fit, what would work, tone, language. I know from my own teenage children, they speak another language. Test out your support processes. Aim for 100% mobile experience. Think about, okay, how are people able to engage with everything you do? And if they don't have hardware like a laptop, how are they able to do it through their mobile? See if you can make it 100% end-to-end experience. And finally, work with employers as well. Help them understand user students, particularly SMEs, small employers who might need a bit more hand-holding on how they engage through mobile. So I want to say a massive thank you to the Liverpool team. Jason, Lottie, Moran, thank you so much for taking your time to share with us today. And thank you everyone for joining. Sorry for running over by a minute. I hope it's been really useful. I hope it's triggered other thoughts and ideas, and you can take a few nuggets back to your teams today. And please do get in touch with any of us if you want to have some follow-up discussions or questions on mobile or any other theme that has come up today. So thank you everyone for joining. Goodbye from me, and I hope you can join us on the next Handshake webinar coming soon.